Welcome back to the Anxious Love Coach podcast. I hope you're having a wonderful week. Happy Monday, assuming this goes out on Monday, which it usually does. On today's episode, I have a beautiful guest and extremely dear friend of mine who I've also worked with as her client. She was my coach as well. This woman has been such a game changer in my personal life, but I have also referred her to my own clients, and my own clients speak so highly of her. So it's just, there's a big treat today. If you are depending on where you are in your relationship, chances are you're falling into certain stages of partnership. And a lot of times when we're in a dynamic, we think that it's always going to be that way. And quite the contrary, more than likely, the relationship you're in with your partner right now is not the relationship you'll be in with your partner forever. Relationships go through stages. So I have on this episode today a dear friend of mine, Luci Lampe, and she is going to be talking we are going to be talking about the 5 stages of relationship evolution so that you can ultimately kind of, first of all, figure out where you are in your relationship, what relationship you're having, and based on where you're at, what you can expect, and also how to proceed in your relationship evolution. A little bit of background on Luci. Luci is a mom of 4, a trauma-informed sex and relationship coach, award-winning singer and songwriter, commercial actress and print model, and 3 times author. After overcoming an autoimmune disorder and surviving hell as a family through her husband's 2-year disability and depression, Luci has returned with a bold, unapologetic message of freedom, courage, and healing. Musically, she boasts a hooking pop sound with soulful, heartfelt vocals. Every time I listen to Luci sing, I'm just like, oh, it's so powerful. So she's amazing. And a lot of her studies and certifications draw from neuro-linguistic programming, somatic experiencing, cognitive behavioral therapy, hypnotherapy, Reiki, counseling, EFT tapping. Tapping. And her degree in exercise science. There's more, but we get the gist. When I worked with Luci, she was definitely helping Preston and I get our eros back. And so when I think of Luci, I think of a very sexy mama with a lot of energy and a lot of heart and soul, and just one of the most beautiful, wide-eyed, open-hearted people that I know. So beyond all of these labels and my introduction, Luci is a dear friend of mine, and I'm very honored to have her on today. So thank you for being here.
Oh my God, I just want to cry. I'm still swimming and basking in the amazingness of actually getting to be with you guys, the 4 of us and all of these, and just last night. So I wake up and I'm like,
we hung out in person last night for context.
Like just last night. Like,
yeah. And we cried together and had some healing experiences.
So I'm just
still fresh.
Still integrating that. And I would anticipate that maybe bits and pieces of that personal integration from last night and just what I've been experiencing personally are going to tie in with what we're talking about today.
Yeah,
somewhere. I don't know where, but we'll see where
I could see that. I'm kind of taking a back seat and facilitating and holding the space, but I'm there's some things we can share and some things we can keep to ourselves.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the balance always with being a simultaneous creator and also living what many people would consider to be an extraordinary life and also an extraordinary sex life, which is what we all really want. But a lot of times what makes things extraordinary in the bedroom and the intimacy to be extraordinary can be triggering for many people because, if you want an extraordinary relationship, you have to be willing to do extraordinary things and climb extraordinary feats in order to make these intimate
and sit with some extraordinary discomforts.
Yeah, that most people might not want to sit with, and that is okay.
Honestly, I felt that that's the biggest, one of the most valuable parts of this whole process is becoming more present with the discomfort, which was, again, I'm still processing that for myself last night and what we experienced, but it's being with the discomfort and just witnessing it and feeling it and not needing to make it go away. and
Yeah.
trusting that this too will pass. Letting go of all that resistance. That's like, this needs to change because I don't like it. It hurts.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and that's in a lot in like the stage 4 part that we'll get into.
Hmm.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mean, there were stages in my unfolding and awakening. I've done a lot of meditation and somatic experiencing, but even I'm just going to throw this out there, and I haven't really talked about it much in my podcast, but I've wanted to. Over the last year, Press and I have done ayahuasca, and one of the most profound moments I realized is that life is this beautiful pain. And when you touch it,
yeah,
it's like there's this reverence that you arrive at for it. It's like it has to be this way. It has to be beautifully painful because you can see if you can't if you're not seeing life and death in the same sentence of life, you're not seeing the full picture. And so it's so beautiful and it's so painful, the truth that life is temporary and everything's temporary. When that really lands in your
yeah,
bones, I mean, it made me cry when I really understood this on a deep level. And
yeah, yeah,
to just like there's nothing you can do to fix that beautiful pain.
yeah. And it's part of the process. And
Yeah.
actually, the erotic, the eros, is alive in the pain.
Mhm.
And I remember when just recognizing like that my tears are extremely erotic.
Oh,
Like when I feel like my pain is just bubbling over. And also there's a difference between pain and suffering. The suffering is optional. I remember the first time I heard, I think it was Tony Robbins say this years ago. He's
okay.
like, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. I'm like, what? I want to sign up for that because I am suffering.
Yeah, so what's your
Wow.
definition of what are the how are those different for those of us who are like, what? Aren't they the same
Well,
thing?
yes. Okay, yeah, that's a great question. The way that I feel it, just the way I experience it in my body, pain is like a response, a stimuli to a stimuli, a response to an outside thing that's happening, or of course, the most painful things really are created within in our emotional world. So there's something can be painful. It can be like uh, how do I define this to separate the suffering? It's like my foot gets broken and I can feel that it hurts. I can feel that it doesn't feel good. I would rather that it feel good. I'd rather be able to dance on it. And I didn't actually break my foot, but just for example. Um, but if I were suffering, then it would be like, oh, like look about all the things that I can't do now. Look at all the things that I can't experience because my foot's broken, and now I have all of these identities and all these stories wrapped up in my pain. Instead of
Mhm.
just being able to witness the pain and feel through the pain and trust that the pain won't last forever.
Yeah,
But
and
the more
all
that
the
I focus
judgment you
on that,
place on it.
yes, that's a big distinguishing factor is the judgment that we place on the pain. That's what, like how they say, who was it, Rumi? Who was it that says this? That attachment is the source of all suffering.
Yeah.
And so we're attaching to the pain as if it's everything instead of just witnessing it and letting ourselves be witnessed by it and be experiencing it as aliveness. So our pain is often a gift,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
suffering is like we're stuck here and we're just going to wallow in this place.
Totally. Totally. And it's like I know sometimes I would make these like crazy stories about my pain, like, oh, I deserve this. This is like my karma.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
wow, that was quite a jump there from stubbing your toe to being like, this is because I
yeah.
was mean to somebody on the freeway. Like, I was like, whoa. And it's really, I've actually, I've been talking about mindfulness and being in the observer's seat for years. And it's so interesting to me because I find that I'm reaching new levels now, 10 years in, like after my first yoga teacher training 10 years ago. There are things, there are things that I'm noticing that I'm doing that I wasn't doing 10 years ago. And I'm like, holy crap, you
Yeah.
can't learn how to do this in a certification. You
Yes.
only you only get to this level of mindfulness by living this for 10 years.
Yeah.
One of the thing
Yes.
that I'm noticing that I'm doing is like I will have a thought. It'll be a judgment either towards myself or someone else. And I'll be like, "Oh, hey, that was an interesting thought." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my God, that's an interesting thought that I had that dialogue about that thought." It's like, look at me
Yeah,
noticing my
yeah,
thoughts without being attached to them. You know,
exactly.
I paid my dues to get there.
Yeah, it's like I've been practicing this stuff for a long time, and the same thing happens with our. I feel like it happens the most. Um, we have the most blind spots about that very thing when it comes to our relationships,
Hmm.
because it's like all of our assumptions and our evidence about who this person is and what they want and what they think and what we think they should be like or shouldn't be like. It's hard. It's often harder. It definitely has been for me to let go of that, of those thoughts, which
Yeah.
is what keeps us from being present in the moment and actually seeing the real person in front of us. Is we're only seeing the past. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so I mean, another thing too, that along those lines, the difference between the pain and the suffering is the willingness to surrender.
Oh, yeah. We talked about that yesterday.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot.
Willingness is such a
It's been a
strong
big
word.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Mm,
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. So I guess pain is like the initial wave of sensation or emotion that comes. And then the suffering is all the thoughts we have about all the stories we place on top of it, all the meaning making, rather than
yeah.
just riding the wave. And it's quite an ego death to like let
Yes.
that just happen. Um,
Hmm.
because your mind will just be empty. And you're like, who am I if I'm not judging this experience as good or bad?
Yeah.
And I'm just with it. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
for those of us who are new, I actually didn't, I'm sure I hadn't, as soon as you posted about the 5 stages of relationship evolution and I like swiped through them, I was like, oh, yeah, like, yeah, that exists. Very, of course, there's 5 stages of relationship evolution. That makes a lot of sense. But it was also my first time seeing it. And so
Yeah.
I'd never quite heard it articulated in that way. And I found that very refreshing. Um, is there a way to, before we kind of dive into each stage, can we condense the 5 stages into like 2 minutes just so that people can get a little broad overview, a little table of contents?
Yes. Yes. So I'm going to refer to my notes to make it concise.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I have these. I wasn't sure if I would need them. And also, before I share this, there is a whole body of work by David Dita in Intimate Communion, where he talks a lot about the 3 stages. He talks
That's
about the
what
three
I've heard
stages.
of.
Yes.
3. I didn't
And
know that.
so
Yeah.
I just had I felt like these other two were very key to add in there as far as my personal experience and what I've seen working with couples. And so, so I've had these other two kind of injected in there as these steps between his steps. Um, so if somebody wants to dive deeper into like the certain of the stages, I'll tell you whenever it's, whenever we get there. I would really recommend that particular book, Intimate Communion. And he just shares a bunch of examples of those 3 stages. So in a nutshell, the first stage is a codependency. It's like you rely on each other to feel complete, to feel whole. And the second stage, you're independent. The second stage is independent. So you begin to figure out who you are outside of just your relationship. And sometimes this can be a little bit, can feel a little distant or really distant. Like you're together, but you're not really together. And you're figuring out like what patterns are healthy or unhealthy. A lot of people come to me, and also I feel like to you, when they're in this stage, because they're getting this taste of
They're transitioning
um,
out of
yeah,
codependency. Yep.
yeah, and but they're just getting started, and it's so beautiful.
Yes.
um, the stage 3 is the equality. Now this is the place where in traditional relationship, I guess counseling and coaching, we're like we get into stage 3 and we've made it. Like everybody knows what their needs are. Everything's fair. It's really based around the equality, sharing the load, um, being being more understanding about what the other person needs, like having more tools for self-reflection, self-regulation, things like that.
A
However,
lot of
along
nonviolent communication type stuff.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, we finally learned how to communicate without needing to judge or control manipulate the situation. It's like a very like a peaceful collaboration within a relationship, and things are running smoothly. They're more harmonious. Um, but the thing is that there's also substantially less sexual passion and desire. And when couples transition into that, they kind of feel like, okay, well, how do we activate the aliveness of the sexual energy, the erotic energy, without needing to rely on the conflict and like the big blowups that used to create that? Because, you know, just physiologically, I won't even get into that, but there's something that happens in stage one where we're gonna have a big fight and we're gonna have the best sex ever after.
Yeah. I always
But
wondered
we need
when we
that.
got to that place, it was like, how do I have the aliveness of the stage one with the safety and maturity of this,
Yeah.
this, you're calling it stage three. I feel like David Data
Yes.
calls that particular piece stage two.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So the stages that I've added are in between the stage one and two, and then between stage two and three.
Yeah. Which I think is really neat.
So
That's awesome.
yeah, because there's that transitional space in the stage two of independence. There's like a um, that's its whole own era
It's like a
of self
breakup.
discovery. It is, and if you can manage to break up without breaking up, you know, like give
Yep.
each other, and that's what stage four does too, but in a different way. So the stage four is the dissolution, and I feel like this is not something that happens one time and then like we're done. I have set you free, my love. You know, like it's something that we will keep returning to between stage four and five as certain things come up because more is being exposed and more is being purged. Hence, so much of what we talked about last night that we have personally been releasing and working through the past couple of weeks. But in the disillusion stage, it's like the shared reality that we have been existing in is crumbling. Like it's no longer existing. It doesn't hold us anymore. It's collapsing.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, to me, out of all the stages, the most painful one. The most, again, painful meaning not suffering, but the most deeply uncomfortable one because it's like, oh shit, I didn't know that I was so attached to this. I didn't know that I put so much weight on this or that I placed so much of my worthiness or value in this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't all happen at once, maybe thankfully. Yeah, thankfully, but it will happen in layers. And what happens during this time is a lot of the special functions of the relationship that have been, that the universe is essentially ready for you to break past, begin to dissolve. And it feels like a what the fuck moment
Oh yeah.
or season. Like, I don't understand why this is happening. What's happening? Everything was so good. Like, we were
Yep.
functioning as a team. We were doing, like, yes, like, feels like we're going backwards, but you're not.
Yep.
But literally, the thing that defines whether you are experiencing a, a backwards kind of movement or a forwards movement is your willingness to surrender to the process and trust that this is happening perfectly in the perfect timing and that there's nothing that you need to do to force your way through it. Your task is to surrender.
Mm. Yeah.
So a lot of space for emotions is needed in that stage, a lot of space for processing. Um, what moves a couple from stage four, that disillusion, into the stage five of union, a lot of it is that willingness to sit in the discomforts together and and distinguish between um, the voice of their ego and the voice of fear versus the voice of love and the voice of the soul, because this is a critical place in so many different ways. Every time that it comes up, like, am I going to choose this, like what my ego is saying, like, but I demand this and I need this, and if you don't give me this, like ultimatums of any kind is not love.
Yeah.
It's hard to say that. It's hard to say that because I know that that's like a tough pill to swallow that's not politically correct. But there's, when you feel with your fucking heart, there is no such thing as an ultimatum.
Right.
When you're feeling with love. And so these are these key pivotal moments where we get to choose from the soul or from the heart, from love, or from like the scarcity and the fear and the ego. And it's scary for me every single time because I'm like, oh, I'm so tempted to just take the blue pill, right, instead of the red one.
Yep. Yep.
But
As
I
we were
can't. Like,
saying.
I'm in too deep. I'm in too deep. There's no going back. Like, and if I did do that, that would be, if anything is a sin, it's that. It's choosing because I don't believe in sin like the way that I was taught growing up in church, but it's breaking that integrity of the heart, because I know that that's not what my heart actually wants. It would just it makes my ego think that I'll be more comfortable
Yeah.
for making demands and making sure that I have somebody that I can control. But we don't want that. We don't
Yeah. I don't,
actually want that.
right.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh,
so
as you're speaking, I feel that beautiful pain in my chest. I'm like, oh, it's so true.
I
And
know, right?
it's so interesting because when I Preston had his big spiritual awakening back in April, and I remember when this happened, and I think we did a podcast
Yeah.
around that time, and I was just like a drunk school bus, like, like
We did it about self-pleasure the second time. I think that was
yeah,
around the, yeah.
yeah, and I was like in it because Preston had just had a big awakening, and I didn't recognize him, but like
Yeah.
his sex life had just turned a 180 in what I want to say is a
Yeah.
good way, but it came with so much stuff that had been dormant for like eight
Yeah.
years. And it just came up. And the stuff that like came up in the beginning of the relationship that we thought we'd gotten through came up and was like, oh, I guess we're
Yeah.
not through this. And it's like you said, that backwards feeling. A lot of people, like when I first met you, I was like, damn, they're so like awakened and ahead of us. And like they know everything and we don't. And then like now I'm like, wait, none of us actually know any.
Yeah.
None,
None of us know what we're
none of us
doing.
know
We're
what the
just like
fuck we're
trusting
doing.
the process.
Yeah. And like the more I go into this, I'm like, oh, we're actually all the same. And like
Yeah.
Lucy
Yeah.
and her
There's
husband are
no
going
ahead
through
and
shit.
behind.
No, and like we're going through shit and like, oh, there's no separation here. But I
Yeah.
remember, and a lot of people that come to me, they think like I've arrived somewhere that they want to be. And I'm like,
Right.
yes, it's evolution. And it's not like there's less pain here. I just want to
No, if
really
anything,
emphasize.
you're more aware. Like you
Yeah.
can feel so much more deeply because of the level of openness of the heart that's required to be at that place is so big that you will feel all of the pain.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not this place where like, oh, we're good now, we're gonna coast. It's like,
Yeah.
no, you're just gonna keep feeling pain. You just become more comfortable with letting go.
Yeah. And, the moments of coasting, you're actually coasting and you're really, just riding in it. But I
Yeah.
remember when I
Yeah.
was when I was experiencing relationship anxiety, one foot in, one foot out, I can see now that we were in stage two. Like I was reestablishing who I was outside of partnership. And a lot
Yeah.
of my stuff on my content is speaking to people in stage one and two. And so
Yes.
stage three looks like the end to those people.
Right.
It's
You've
like,
arrived.
we've arrived. And I'm like, yeah, but
Yeah.
then you're going to find the sex isn't that great in that spot.
Yeah.
And so some people are going to stay there and it's a conscious choice. They want the security and the
Yes.
stability. And also maybe it's a season. Like when Press and I have kids,
Yeah.
like when I have an infant, I'm probably going to want to be in that spot to rely on it. Who knows? Maybe I will, maybe I
Yeah.
won't, but it's
Well,
just,
the thing is, it doesn't
yeah,
take away, let's say if you're in the stage of union, it doesn't take away from the of your ability to share responsibilities. You just don't have to consciously worry about it anymore or
right.
like effort
That's a good
into it. It just
discernment.
happens. Yeah, it
Yeah.
just happens. Whereas in the stage three, we're like making this conscious effort, like, is this fair? Did I eat you out the same time that you blew me? It's like, is this,
Right.
how can we be equal here and like be yeah, it's all about the fairness. But in like all that stuff goes out the window in stage five.
Yep.
It's like last night we were talking about you have the tools, you get the tools, and then the next level thing is
Now
just
throw
throw all
out
the
all,
tools out the window.
yep.
Yeah. And you
Unlearn
still,
everything that took you so long to learn.
yeah,
And those things were necessary. Um, but you
yes,
even the tools you can't get attached to. Like
right,
they help
yes,
you
because
get
then
from
that
point A to
becomes,
point B. You
yeah,
need it to get from point A to point B, but to get from point B to point C, you have to literally throw all of that away and realize that
yeah,
there are contexts where these tools are completely useless. And you're like, fuck. And it's
yeah,
so painful, Lucy. It's so
yeah,
painful. It was the hardest stage of my relationship. It's worse than relationship anxiety in some ways.
yeah, yeah. I believe that.
Yeah.
And it's like when you're being called to when the universe is like, okay, cool, let me like give you some look, you're making progress, you're doing it, like good job, yay. And then it's like, okay, and now like just forget all of that. I'm like, what? but that helped me to make this happen in my life. And it's like, nope, that was all just an illusion. Like, just let you think that you were in control of that because you needed that. You
Yep.
needed that at the time, and now you're ready to know the truth. You're like, oh shit, I thought I knew everything. So
Yep.
that stage 5 is the union, and that is a true feeling of oneness and expansion without an attachment to the outcomes, without needing to control each other. And whenever you do notice, like, oh, I still want to try to control you in this, or I still have this condition on my love for you, then that piece, it's like, we bring it into that stage 4, and we just like, and it gets dissolved, and we're back in that discomfort. But when you get through that, it's like, oh my God, I imagined that I could be this good on the other side. I didn't even know that I would want this. I thought what I had before was it. So
Yeah.
like at this point, there's no arriving. You don't even care about ever arriving, because you realize it doesn't fucking matter. Like, you're so free and you're so at peace with whatever is.
Yep.
So there's a level of personal consciousness, but also like you're sharing that with another person, and you're both in this deep knowing that you're in the perfect place at this time. There's nothing to fix. Even when things feel like the shadows come up and the wounds are exposed, that it doesn't mean that you're never going to have that.
Yeah.
But when you do have that, you have this deep peace about it. And like the function of everything from sex, for example, like it shifts from being about just like physical pleasure or giving, or like, that dynamic that is in stage 3, which is honestly a lot of the thing that takes out the passion in it, because it becomes more mechanical. I want to make sure you get your orgasm after and that just doesn't give space for the erotic innate essence of who we are to breathe. So
Yeah.
in the union, there's all that space for that. It's less about like, we need to make sure that we have the physical pleasure. That's just a given. Like, it just happens. You don't have to worry about it. But within those same kinds of, for example, sexual experiences, you have these very beautiful, profound, or it's not like it'll be this way every single time, but you can have these profound consciousness expanding experiences where like this whole energy exchange is not just about, it's Wednesday, it's sex day, or however we made it fair in the past. But it's holy. And I've struggled to use that word so much for so long, because it has been so tainted in the context of religion and stripped of what it was meant to be originally.
Mm.
But anyways, I
Yes.
could go all into that, but
It's
that's
a
what I was saying
word
about
that
that.
points to something that I think all of us know.
Yeah. Holiness and wholeness, being on the inside,
Mm-hmm.
living in the heart, living from the heart. Um, anyway, yeah, the union piece is the ever expanding, always expanding. So as far as I know, this is what feels true to me right now. That union stage, it's like on paper the final stage, but there's literally not a finality to it. That's the
Right.
point where you realize that there is no arriving. So it's this paradox of like, cool, we've arrived here, but it's like, actually we know that we haven't, because
Yeah.
we're just gonna keep growing. We're just gonna keep becoming through this.
Yeah. Uh, the beautiful pain. It's a beautiful, beautiful
Yeah.
pain. So maybe we can spend some time in each of the stages. And as you guys, hopefully you guys are kind of self-diagnosed which stage you're in. I would definitely say Press and I are oscillating between 4 and 5 at the moment. And sometimes I want to go backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
like,
like,
wait, can we just
I
go back
missed
to
that.
stage? Can we just go back to stage 3? And like, anyway, and
Yeah.
it's so tough because the people that I'm working with who are kind of in stage 1 and 2, I'm trying to get them to stage 3 because I don't recommend
Mhm.
skipping that step. It's a very
Right.
important
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So, and then they get there and they're like, yay. And I'm like, okay, Cool. Just hang out here for a while.
Just hang out here till your soul tells you otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. So as you guys, hopefully, as you guys are listening, you can kind of feel into what stage you're in. Some of you guys are going to be in stage 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. So maybe we can go through each of these stages and talk about what you can do to not force yourself into the next stage, but support the natural evolution into the next stage.
Yes. Yeah. So in the first one, and I think this is probably the one that people will be the most used to exploring. This is the mainstream,
Especially
like,
if you're just starting out. And
yes, yeah. You just became aware that you're like, oh, my entire happiness and well-being relies on whoever I'm dating or whoever or the person I'm married to. And so there's this awakening to the realization that, you know what, my happiness doesn't need to rely on somebody else. And they just, because that's still the default way of the collective humankind,
that's what
is to seek
so
out the
much
other person.
relational messaging says, like all the,
Yeah.
all the porn, all the Hollywood movies, all the TikToks, like my person does this for me and it makes me happy. And so
Yeah.
therefore you are responsible. I need to find someone who will make me happy.
Yeah. Yeah. And if this person isn't making you happy, it's like what we were saying, made this comment last night of Preston said, what do you say? He's like, yeah, all my friends who have been dating for like a year have so many opinions.
Yep. You're
Because
like,
it's
well,
like,
if she's
well,
not meeting you in that way, just leave, man.
yeah,
Like, go
yeah,
find someone that can meet you there.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, but
And
we all
it's
end up here in the same place eventually.
exactly, yeah, yeah. Nothing is going to fix that. Like,
No.
there's no way around the growth process that we're just naturally going to be called to evolve into. So, yeah, so a lot of that is the stuff that we're already familiar with. Going from stage 1 to 2 is just, going to therapy, getting coaching, figuring out how to work with the energy in your body when you're feeling triggered, how understanding your nervous system, um, tools, gathering some things for self regulation. You're not really focused on how can I support my partner through their shit yet, because you don't have the capacity for that yet, usually,
And vice versa.
and vice versa. Yeah. So there can be a lot of friction there. It's really in these transitional phases that personally I see the most friction and the most pain slash potential suffering. And most people will suffer through the independent stage, although it's offset by this empowerment feeling.
Yep.
Because it's like, I don't need no man, look at me, I'm self-sufficient. And
I'm
by
not
now,
responsible for your feelings.
yeah, that sounds like a you thing. It's not a me thing. Because we start to learn also, like, oh, my reality is created internally, and so is yours. And therefore, don't make me responsible for your pain. And so there's truth in all of it, but we're not seeing the deeper love
There's
that's there,
more.
and that's
There's more
okay.
to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is just a part of the process. So there's in all of this too, for people listening, it's not like, oh, well, this is like not, this is better and this is worse, or this is less like enlightened or whatever. It's just part of the process. And you got to honor every single part and not judge any part of that.
And
So,
sometimes too, one person's going through it and the other person's in, like,
yeah.
it's not like you're
Yeah.
both always in the same phase. Like I remember
Yes.
I started making myself more independent first.
Mm-hmm.
And like
Mm-hmm.
for me, it showed up as, we don't have kids at the moment, and in those times we didn't have kids, obviously. So there was a time when I was traveling, like I would be traveling alone. And that was kind of me
Yeah.
training my body to remember who I was outside of partnership, because
Yeah.
I'd never really been single. And so for me, there was
Uh-huh.
a crisis point. I was like, who am I outside of partnership? Do I need to break up? And a lot of people will, and that's okay. That's like a
Yeah.
physical manifestation of
Yep.
becoming independent. But you don't, for those that decide to physically remain in the label that we call relationship and the boundaries of the relationship, some people will energetically break up. And it is a breakup.
Yeah.
I went through the same pain as a breakup. And so a lot of people think I need
Yeah.
to break up in order to feel this pain. No, not
Mm.
necessarily. You can feel the same pain of a breakup when you realize that neither of you are going to save each other.
Exactly. Yes. And that is a grieving. There's a lot to be said about making space for the grieving in between each stage, because you are literally grieving a past version of you, not just you individually, but of the you that is the two of you together, the past version of you as a couple that no longer exists. Like, you
Yep.
can't get it back. You can't. And so there's no going back. So you've got to like feel through it. And the more that we judge who we personally were in a previous stage, the more we will be quick to judge our partner when they are going through their stuff. And so this is all just, bringing awareness to these things and not being like, don't do that. But just to notice and get curious about it, like you were talking about with mindfulness. Like, oh, there's that thought. Okay, that doesn't need to define my relationship or my partner. And also bringing it back to, especially in the stage two, um, transitioning into stage two, of like, okay, what does this say about me? What does this reflect about me? There's a lot of mirroring going on here and recognition of how the partner is mirroring you. Um, Actually, that's more so going from stage 2 to 3, I would say. Recognizing your partner as a mirror.
Yep.
Um,
I
yeah,
just got chills. Yeah, that would fall into that stage
yeah.
because
And
then
then,
there's this equality to it. It's like I am you and you are me in a way.
yeah. And when you can see the sameness, then you can work towards the same, you can recognize the shared purpose and vision and work towards that together as a team, which
Hmm.
is a must for that stage 3, that equality.
Yeah, because
We're on
you
the same
can't build
team.
a foundation in stage one because it's
No,
my needs versus your needs, and it's not.
yeah.
There's just this tug of war,
There's a competing all the time.
competition, and by stage three, you've arrived at your visions together, and now you
Yeah.
can
And it
commit.
feels so good.
It feels
Feels so
good.
good.
It's like we're committed and
Clarity.
we're building something. Like when Press and when I pulled my other foot out the door when I was in Austria and I had all like, I
Yeah.
just purged like decades of trauma in
Yeah.
3 weeks. It's just like amazing. I got so lucky to be able to do that. I'm so grateful. That was what honestly eventually led to me starting Anxious Love Coach. Is like that clarity was that
Yes.
Anxious Love Coach was born from the clarity that I got from traveling alone and purging a bunch of trauma.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like I came back to the US and I was like, okay, I'm ready to build something with you. And Preston proposed a couple of years later. And we have a foundation. And now we're like actually thinking about buying a house and having kids. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
coasting. Like, let's build something here. You can't really build something in stage one.
No. And if you're attempting to build something, somebody is always sacrificing.
Yeah, that's true.
Somebody is compromising. And there's usually this tiptoeing around. I know I'm kind of jumping around here, guys, but like in stage one, there's a lot of tiptoeing around. Like, I don't know if I should tell you what I need. Like, I'm scared, but I don't want you to reject me. And so I'm just going to not say anything. And then later I'll resent you for it.
Yeah.
And
Codependency, classic.
yeah, so
Yeah.
classic codependency. But then when you're transitioning from stage 2 to 3, like going from this really super empowered, like I realize that I am the whole universe that I need and everything is within me. And then you realize, like, oh, actually, it's actually better experience, like a more fulfilling, richer experience if I don't do this all by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a teammate or a partner, like somebody that I can like build with, like just like you were saying. And so a lot of that is just coming back to each other and just this can look so many different ways. Like it could look at that's honest, like the Come Together course that I launched last year is a lot of that. It's like we've both been we're doing our inner work, or one of us is doing that, and the other one is starting to do that, however that might look. And we're ready to come together and explore some things, uh, and see what comes up. Like see what we've got some tools here in our toolbox that we're gathering more of for co-regulation, self-regulation, and we have more capacity to hold space. Or again, one person has more capacity to hold space and help kind of um, be a witness to the other person's process. But yeah, there's just a lot of these little like dipping your toes in the water and seeing like, hey, let's try this. Can we do this? Can we like do this in a cohesive way? And beginning to open up to caring more about our partner's process and not like it becomes me focused to like to us focused.
Yeah.
That's a big shift. So all the things that can support shifting from me focus to us focus without losing the me focus, because you're not sacrificing the me for the us. That was a stage one thing.
Yeah.
If you're not
Yeah.
doing that anymore.
And the conversations are just, they're so different. Like when Press and I were, I guess, in this phase, um, we both I think I learned it first through books, but then he learned a lot through just being around me, and our communication changed, and
Yeah.
everything was like, I have this need. You have directly opposing need. What do you think we should do? As opposed to like, well,
Yeah.
fuck you. I need
Yeah.
this and suck it
I'm
up,
going to find
buttercup, man
somebody
up.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, what
Like,
should we
get
do
on or get
about
out.
this? What should we do about this? Because I know that
Yeah.
our relational ecosystem does not do well if you're not well. So it's actually
Yes.
selfishly in my best interest
Yeah.
that you're well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I know if you're resentful, it's going to bite me in the ass. So I might as well take you into account here too, I guess.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that. There's a big part of that. It's like you realize that when your partner is doing well, when they are taken care of, when they're fed, when they're like filling their cup, it has a complete well, it affects you. It affects
Mhm.
your dynamic that you have between the two of you. And so it's in your best interest, yeah, to also encourage him to do that or give him space to do that. And that's another thing too, is that there's a lot of space, because in stage 2 there's just, we need a lot of space to
Yeah.
figure things out and feel through things, and it can be extra hard to do when you're staying together but you're also taking space, because it could be confusing. I remember when we went through that.
It's a very loneliness, a lot of loneliness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're
Because
together
your
but you're not
connection
like
was
connected.
dependent. Yeah, because your sense of
Yeah.
connection was dependent on the other. And so when you sever that, there you were to come head face to face with loneliness. It's a big,
Yeah.
painful process.
And like no amount of empowerment, self-empowerment, can compensate for that loneliness that we feel. And a
Yeah.
lot of people who are deep into stage 2 will see the even just the equality of a relationship that functions in a fair way, let alone a relationship that is functioning on truth and love in union with no conditions, which blows their fucking mind. And be like, what? This is not real. This is not world. Like, you know, yeah, this seems like great in concept, but it never happens in real life. And so there can be a lot of cynicism in that. So going from actually, let me move on here to the, like moving from stage 3 to 4. I feel like, to your point when you said that, there will be people who choose to stay in stage 3. I don't even. It's almost like it's up to the universe if you stay in stage 3 or not, because it's
Mm.
not something that you consciously decide, like, I'm going to move on to stage 4 and like let my life
Right.
fall
You don't
apart so I
see
can
that
have
as
union.
you don't see that as a progression
No. And
necessarily.
we often don't recognize what's happening until we're pretty deep in it. We're like, oh, my life isn't
Oh,
falling
fuck.
apart forever. Yeah. Like this is this. Um, so I will say that I don't know that even while I believe that everyone at the soul level desires the union. I also, on the flip side, don't believe that everyone will be led through that path, whether in this lifetime or another one, or however we want to define that. But when it comes to you, then you have the choice.
Yeah.
Am I going to allow the things that need to fall away to fall away? Trust the things that are meant to be here will either stay or come new for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. So if one is celebrating that they're in stage 3 and they're hearing this, and at the same time I'm hearing that you don't have to force it, it'll kind of happen to you
Yes.
and it could come in the form of a crisis that
Yeah.
erupts during a stage 3. This is what I notice a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
For us it was Preston's spiritual awakening, and it was like, oh fuck, we
Yeah. You
just
didn't plan
got
on that, did you? Like,
I didn't plan on that. I did not plan on Preston having a spiritual awakening. And I was the spiritual one. I was like, polarity, I'm spiritual and he's the earthling. And I said that for like years
yeah.
in my podcast.
Yeah.
Like, I just thought that's how things were. And then this is why this podcast moved to stage 2, because I was like, I have to take this whole new variable into account that I did not see coming. And so we just got catapulted into that, and it's like, oh, there's a a lot here. And I have to like literally throw out. For a long time, Lucy, I thought I was a fraud with Anxious Love Coach. I was like,
Mm,
I am a
yeah.
total fraud because I felt like I was going backwards.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
are we
See, yeah.
returning to like childish arguing? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we learned all these tools so that we could learn what we like, so that we could know how to use them when the
Yeah.
context arrives. But then there came a point where you just got to leave it all behind. So if someone is listening to this and is like, okay, well, I want to torture myself and go from stage three to
I
stage.
love pain.
I love pain. I'm a little life
I get
masochist.
off on the pain.
I'm a little
Give
life
me more.
masochist. How do I go into stage four? What do we do? What do
What
I?
do I do for that?
Yeah,
You will
our
literally
little masochists in the audience, like,
like, give me more. That's a little scary. Okay. I mean, really, the thing is, if you are on this soul path of being open to where am I cutting off the flow of love? Where am I cutting, like, not cutting off my heart, but okay, a different kind of pain. But where am
closing
I
off.
closing off? Yes, because this was something I told you last night, and it will go into a post one of these days. That I would rather battle my ego's um, impulse to shut down than to battle my soul and heart's
Mm.
desire to stay open.
Oh, I just got
Like
chills
if it
everywhere.
all
Yeah.
like if it and that came to me in the midst of a really dark moment when I was faced with a choice. I was like, literally right now with my next words, do I choose ego or do I choose heart? And I was like, this is a defining moment. It's not like if I say this thing I can never go back, but it's like I would be saying it with such certainty, like better be fucking sure. And because I don't take my words lightly. Like if I say do this or I want you to do this or I need this, then I'm like, I really mean it. And it doesn't mean that later on I'm not like, actually, after some self-reflection, this is what I actually want or need. That, that still happens, but there was that defining moment. So anyways, if you're on that path of living with a more open heart, because just because you're in stage 3 doesn't mean that you're operating from an open heart. Doesn't mean that you're like fully just open. Part of this, the whole thing through all the way to the stage 5 is living with an open heart, which is not necessarily a soft, sensitive, gooey, I love you heart. It's a fully feeling heart. It's open even when it feels more pain than you think it can handle.
Yeah.
Like physically in your body, the emotional pain feels physically overwhelming in in these moments. Not for everybody. I mean, it has for me. I'm just
For
like,
me
I
too.
literally don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can do it. I just need to shut down. I just need to shut down. I need to close it. I need to close it. And it's in those moments where it's like, but no, I'm gonna hold on and I'm just gonna stay open and I'm just gonna feel it and I'm gonna let it wash over me like a giant wave and it will pass. And if there's
Yeah.
one thing you can hold on to in that moment, it's like, this will pass. This will pass. And this is happening for my benefit. Like everything is conspiring in favor of my expansion so that I can get what I want.
Yeah. I
Like
mean,
how entitled of me is it to be like, let me just have everything I want. Like just hand it to me and then I don't appreciate it. And there's still all this stuff in the way underneath, all this like gunk and
yeah. And
yeah.
I imagine for those listening, they're probably like, what are you talking about? Like, what pain are you referring to? And
Yeah.
I'm feeling it in my like chest right now. And I felt my eyes tear up a little bit as you were saying this because I relate so hard. And I
Yeah.
think for if you're wondering kind of what this is about, it's kind of like, you have these boundaries of the relationship, or at least what you've defined the boundaries of the relationship to be. And then you look at those boundaries themselves. And we have to, I think every person runs into this paradox in partnership that I think in stage 4 you start to see, which is that
Yeah.
the metaphor I use is, I want a bird to be free. I love this
Yeah.
bird. My partner is this bird. I want him to be completely free because he's so beautiful when he's flying through the sky.
Yeah.
And yet I want him to choose me. I want him to come to me. And not to
Yes.
say like Press and I are open, and even if we were, I wouldn't judge it. There's so many relational agreements, and everybody has their own journey. But the only way to like ensure that he's here is to like cage him. And
Yeah.
then when you do that, you pinch off the aliveness. The bird
Yes.
dies. The bird dies
Yes.
in your
And if they don't die
control.
physically, they die inside and you watch it happening before your eyes.
Yeah. And so there you everybody I think runs into this paradox. It's like you can set him free and marvel and
Yeah.
feel the beautiful ache, the beautiful pain of like, I think he's going to come back, but I don't know for
Yeah.
sure because I set him free for this reason. And
Yes.
and then when they come home, you're like, oh yeah, they're and it feels so good when they come home because you know that they're choosing you
Yeah.
not because you caged them.
Yeah. And not
They
because you're entitled to it.
and not
Or
because you're
you,
entitled to it. Yeah. So, when for those of you listening last night, like Lucy and I both touched this pain last night and we
yeah.
both touched it at the same time in
Wow.
front of our men.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a heart shattering human moment. And for those
Yeah.
of you listening, like this is where you land. It's like really one of the most ultimately painful things, but it's so
It's
beautiful
that
too.
like profound desire. Like you want more than anything else to be chosen, to be special, be the special one, to be the favorite one, to be the one.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like, and then there's this intense fear of loss,
Yeah.
this fear of abandonment, fear of it's beyond rejection. It's just being abandoned. Like, where'd you go? Like, but
Yeah.
you said, but you were
I
here and
thought
I
we had
thought you were
something.
here forever. Yeah, like I thought you were mine forever. But it's like, oh, that was all an illusion. It was never,
And I
ever
don't
real.
own you. And I
Yeah.
don't own you. And I can convince myself I own you and we
Yeah.
can
It makes
convince
you feel better
ourselves.
for a little bit.
It does make you feel better. But and that's part of what we learned in stage 2, the independence phase. It's like we don't own each other. But we're choosing each other, but we're still kind of owning each other. It's just now under this guise of like equality.
Yeah. It's just more like we know what this is now. Like we're doing this on purpose now.
Yeah,
And
but
it's
then
working
that
for us, like in this
until it
point.
doesn't.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes that takes the form of one person wanting to change something about the relationship dynamic and the other one not. I see that a lot.
I
But
see
even
that
when
a lot
both
too.
people agree to do something different, like we did, and then it's like one person says, actually,
Wait,
never mind.
hold up.
And the other one's
Wait,
like,
slow down.
no,
Brakes.
I what? Like, why did you rob me of this? So it's just like a constant dialogue and connection. And one thing it's for fucking sure is that if you keep your heart closed, it just does not work. Because
Yeah.
the moment your heart is closed, it becomes all about the logistics and the hard lines in the sand. And there is really no such thing as it in real, like, okay, again, my personal belief with these things, a hard boundary. All of these boundaries are soft and they are movable and they are ultimately defined by love and truth. Now, I know that seems there's way more in that
Abstract.
than I can get into here. It seems very abstract. When you're in it, For now, it's just a concept, right? Unless you're literally in it. Um, but that's a big part of the if you are initiated into stage 4, that's literally what it requires to move from stage 3 to 4 is you are just initiated.
Yeah. And I guess it'll happen
There's nothing
when
you do.
it'll happen when it happens, I guess.
Yeah. And there's no timing. It's just like when you find yourself in that place, practice that presence with the discomfort and just trust that it's working, it's doing its work in you. It's working things out that otherwise wouldn't be worked out because it's too uncomfortable. Why would you choose that on purpose, Unless you're
Mhm.
really you're like a universal masochist. But then there is a choice though if when you're in that place to move into the stage 5. And these concepts again are a little more abstract than they are practical steps like going from stage 1 to 2, but it involves a lot of forgiveness, a lot of forgiveness. Like that's the number one thing. And not forgiveness like you did me wrong, but forgiveness as in letting yourself see correctly, releasing the illusion of what you thought was real.
Yeah.
And letting yourself see the actual reality, which is actually love. And so you're faced with fear after fear after fear, scarcity, lack, ego, so that you can see the truth beneath it. And if there's a practical practice that you can do in between those two, it's to make space, like consciously make space to feel the discomfort and keep your heart open.
It's so hard to do, but yes.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. And
everything in
just
me wants to be like,
surrender.
well, fuck you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And the
I
thing
was
is
like,
also,
what a toddler I've turned into again. We
but there's also
regressed.
space for that. Like you make
Yeah.
space for that because that needs to also be expressed. There are some moments that, and maybe not in front of your partner, but like maybe sometimes, yeah, like you both, some of the best moments that we've had in these, in this, like, I'll give you a personal example. Like we know that this is ego and fear,
Yeah.
but we're still like role playing. Like, but it's like we know that we're role playing. And we can look outside of ourselves and like see, like look down from a bigger perspective that's zoomed out and see these little children fighting about some stupid shit that we're like, it doesn't even matter. Like, what are you? But this is funny. Like, look at you guys. You're so cute. Like, you think that you need that, or you need to like control that. You think whatever.
Keep
And
fighting over a
bringing the
truck.
comedy. Yeah. Like, no, you can both have the car. Like, there's lots more cars. Like, it's not a problem. And so you see the comedy in it, and then you see the innocence in it, and you see the innocence in each other, and that has helped us through so much. Because by this point, we were like, oh, we know what this is. It doesn't make it feel any less real to our bodies and to our egos, but like deep down, we know what this is, and it's not that deep. Like it's, we just got to get through this. So, what does your ego need to say to me right now? Because here's
Yeah.
what mine's got
Here's
to
the
say.
stage.
Yeah, and there was one night, particularly on going through one big purging on Christmas Eve, the night before Christmas Eve, actually, so the 23rd. I sat on the couch, and Ryan, he had the wherewithal and capacity to hold that container for me, which there's so much I can say about that. Nobody is entitled to their partner being their container, but when they can do that for you, so amazing. And when you can do that for them, this is not just like the masculine embodiment that is supposed to be doing this in a relationship. There will be both. But he happened to be the one, and I was just like, just purging, like, and this and this and this, and I'm scared of this, and I think I'm worried that this is going to happen, and he knows, he sees right through it, but he's listening, and I get to be witness, and I get to be heard. And as soon as my ego was like done, it's like it feels seen, and she was just done, and she's like, and that's it. I feel better now. Thank you for loving me enough to listen to all of my bullshit. But there's a difference between that and offloading onto your partner and like abusing them,
Yeah.
which we had to learn that the hard way, going from stage 1 to 2.
Yep.
So messy.
There is a consent involved
Yes.
in these revealings.
Yeah.
And it's more of a reveal than it is an attack. When it's an attack, you're still
Yes.
coming from a place of control. It's like, I need you to change, as
Yeah.
opposed to, I'm going to, with your consent, I would love to reveal this to you when there's nothing to do.
Yeah. That's the big thing, is I want to show this part of myself to you, and you are not responsible for fixing it or making it feel better in any way. And often, literally, the one thing that does help me to feel better is simply letting it be seen. And I remember when I started doing this, and I had to explicitly tell Ryan, there's nothing you need to do about this. There's nothing you have to change about yourself, even though this thing about you totally just triggered me. There's nothing you need to do. I already feel better just telling you that I feel this way. And the resistance is just, it's the resistance that creates that friction, not the thing itself.
Totally. And I mean, it's so interesting. Like when we can see our partners as a mirror, we also realize that in doing so, we're doing this for ourselves as well. In making ourselves okay, we make it okay to reveal ourselves to our partners, because we know inside that this emotion is lovable and okay. And yes, we can be that too. It's like, I think when we move from stage 1 to stage 2, it's like, wow, this toxicity is not helping. It's codependent and nobody's really benefiting from this dynamic. So
Yeah.
I'm going to stop being toxic and now I'm going to be really
Yeah.
healthy and I'm going
Yeah.
to communicate in a really healthy way. Well, what happened to all that bullshit energy though? I'm using the word bullshit,
Yeah.
not in a
Yeah.
judgmental way, but like the energy that was in the past. Well, that's still you. That part of you didn't just like
Yeah. They
all
don't
your
just peace out.
that your little
We're
woundings don't
done.
just like disappear. It's just you
Yeah.
know how to respond in them. And so part of like throwing out the
Yes.
tools that you learn is being like, okay, now that I know how to almost like control myself to be this quote unquote healthy version of me,
Yeah.
now that I know how to do that, can I show the parts of me that are still a total mess?
Yeah. Yeah. Messy and raw and just like unfiltered and
Yeah.
scared.
Scared, terrified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
a lot of that is what comes up in stage 4, actually really hardcore, like more than ever. It
Yep.
comes in so much harder in stage 4 than it did
And stage
earlier.
2. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like, and now you have so much to lose.
So
So
much.
there's that. Cause like, but I
We built a
earned
life
this
already. We started
relationship.
building a life.
We did it. Yeah. Like we're doing this. Like you can't, like we don't want to mess that up. So you have so much more to lose. So there's so much more fear because it's like, well, I don't want to, I just invested not only my heart, my time, my energy, all that stuff, my whole self into this.
Mm.
And now like it could just be ripped out from under me. Like, fuck that. So you get to face all of that. And not once, but anytime that again you are initiated into a different a different thing
Yeah.
with your partner and you're just ready. And like I was telling you last night, I was like, okay, well, this obviously means the universe thinks I'm ready. So I kind of feel honored, but I'm also like,
We
fuck
were
you.
so honored to be there with you. We were like, oh my God, we're here witnessing like real life. Oh my God.
Oh my God. But you know, if a few years ago that wouldn't have been possible, like by a long shot, for me to
For us
express
too.
that from a heart place and not from a blaming, attacking place. It's like, how dare you, you know, and how, and like, what's wrong with you? But at the same time, my pain is valid. Okay, just like all our emotions are valid. It doesn't mean that it is the truth because we can confuse truth, big truth, with our truth that's actually just being driven by fear.
Yeah.
But you got to get through that, get purged, purge that little truth. I'm just going to call it little truth. That sounds cute. To
Little, little
because it's
baby
all
truth,
true and innocent. Like,
yeah.
look at you, your little
You're so
truth, and
cute. You
you
and your
can be
little,
just
you and your
so
little ideas. You think
you
you're
and your
so
little opinions and thoughts and your demands, and you can see and you can just let it be witnessed by the truth of the heart, and then let it fall away. Let it fall away. And even more amazing if you can do that in the presence of somebody else being witnessed by that. So, oh, and there's another thing too that I didn't mention earlier about union, that it's like a um, you learn for the first time that giving and receiving are the same. They happen simultaneously. There is no your turn, my turn. And this is a complete like mind fuck for anyone in stage 1 through 3. It's like, but how? Like, it doesn't make sense
Well, because you're taking the
unless you're a
other as part of
compersionist.
yourself. If you're taking the other
Yeah,
as part of yourself, they are you. And therefore, when you're giving to the outside, you're actually giving to yourself because there's no separation.
yeah,
Mm.
yes, yes. And not only with that partner, but with anybody. And
In
so
the
you,
world.
in this container of the union, yeah, you get to practice. You get to really just go deep within the context of that union, and then it just permeates everything that you do.
I mean, I think
It can't
yesterday you
not.
said the universe is just like masturbating with itself.
Yeah. The universe is always fucking itself, and it's just like
Yeah.
creating and expanding and
Yeah.
beyond our mind's comprehension.
Mm. Yeah. I've definitely, I think it's a tall order to like always stay in this state of union. Um, Most of the time I'd say we're playing that line, tiptoeing that line. But there are moments, and it usually happens after a little landslide or a little avalanche and a lot of
Yeah.
I was joking. We've been all joking around. Like whenever there's like a rock slide or a landslide in our relationship, it's like, whoa, everything was so good. And then now what the fuck? And there's a lot of civilian casualties and like a lot of
We're like,
death.
no, how many villagers had to die for
villagers?
us to have this breakthrough? Like, I just have this picture in my head. It was so funny when Preston was saying that. I'm like,
It
and
is.
he was so serious saying it. So I felt like, I don't know, it's funny.
Yeah, it's like a
Like,
little rock slide and it collapsed on a village, and the village was like the life as we knew it, and it's over. Like,
yeah,
boom, the relationship
yeah,
that we had is over right now. That particular variation, that particular flavor of this relationship just died. And
yeah, yeah.
okay, now what are we gonna do? Maybe we should just like before we start rebuilding, like, are we done with this rock slide? Are there any
Yeah.
more?
Is this rock slide over? Because that's what the other thing I told Preston was like, it's not about there never being any rock slides. It's just that you find a way to make peace with the rock slides. This particular thing that we have gone through the past 2 weeks was the most personal, deep, profound rock slide. And
Mm-hmm.
so I had so much resistance built up for the past 17 years. It's like, of course it felt so fucking hard.
Of course.
Course, and so I wouldn't expect myself to feel any differently and be like, yeah, this is just like the other rock slides, we always made it and things are always better. It's like I just have to have an unshakable faith in
You're gonna be
whatever
okay.
happens, that no matter what, yeah, it's going to work out for my best.
Yeah.
And so there's a I think there's also a lot of things that you'll that people as they go through this will discover is that when you do have what we'll continue to call rock slides, um, the more you do practice being deeply present with the discomfort and letting go and surrendering and being at peace, even when like things, nothing about the external is as you would wish it to be, you just, you'll experience some rock slides. It's like you watch them happen, but they don't feel like rock slides.
Mm-hmm.
And you're both just like, it's like you're going deeper in a submarine. You're just going like deeper into the water and you're just releasing the pressure so that you can go deeper in
I love that analogy.
without getting crushed by the water, because you can't go deeper. Anyways, it's just that's an image that comes to mind.
You can't go too
But
fast or too
you can't,
slow.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you begin to just really actually not enjoy the rock slides. Even it's just you're not like trying to make them happen.
But you're
You
not in
just like,
resistance to
oh,
them either.
cool. Yeah, when you're not in resistance to it, you're not suffering. And we've had many, more than I can count, of those kinds of rock slides in between the big ones that built so much more trust in the process that like, oh, look, it doesn't always have to feel so hard. And even when it does feel hard, it's okay. Like, and it feels hard for whatever multitude of reasons that it does. But trusting that the process is going to work out in my favor.
Yeah. I heard you use a 2-word phrase that is actually like my mantra. And when you said it, I was like, yes. And it's a very simple word. And I've said it on podcasts, but I live by the sentence, of course. It's
Yeah,
because,
of course.
of course that happened because, of course, there was a rock slide because rock slides happen. Of
Yeah,
course, there's pain because pain happens. Of course, there was a death
yeah,
because death happens. Of course, we got a divorce because divorce happens. Of course, we had a breakup because breakups happen. Of course, I got my heart broken because heartbreak happens. And at the same time, in the reverse, of course, I got a raise because raises happen. Of course, I had a baby because
yes,
babies happen. And I live by, of course, because it allows you to deal with the unexpected constantly. And it allows you to die over and be reborn over and over because death
yeah,
and birth happens. Of course it does. Of course it does. Of course it does. So if
yeah,
I lose a friendship, of course that happens. And of course I'm sad
yeah,
about it. And it just,
yeah,
for me, the words, of course, is something that I live by because it makes me not in resistance to the plot of my life.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
of course, there was a plot twist. That's what happens in plots.
Exactly.
Of course, of
Yeah,
course, of
such
course,
is
of course, of
the
course.
nature of expansion.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it feels like, you know, burst out of your skin with ecstasy, and sometimes it feels like you're
Die.
dying inside.
Yeah. No, because so much of the time we're like, that wasn't supposed to happen. And
Yes,
that is the suffering on top of the pain.
yes, that's why we suffer, because we have this belief or this judgment that this wasn't supposed to happen to me, or like I thought I was better than that,
Yeah. Or I
or
was more evolved than,
I earned my way to not have to deal with that or
yeah.
something.
And life humbles us. And so for me, when it's as soon as I arrive, like whenever there's resistance, if I arrive at the words, of course, everything changes. Of course that happened to me. I'm
Yeah,
not above that happening to me. I'm not entitled to
yeah,
not have that happen to me. You know, I don't want to say deserve, but I am open to receiving that experience in the same way that everybody else could have that
yeah,
experience. I'm not above
yeah,
getting cancer. I'm not above getting
yeah.
canceled. I'm not very poetic of me. It just came through. Like all of these things that I look at other people and say, well, I'm so glad that's not happening to me. In a weird way, I'm like creating my own future suffering because life will have its way of being like, haha, yes, that could happen
Yeah,
to you.
yeah, and those are all
And
the attachments too.
yeah. And
The attach, what? Oof.
it's so jarring. It's so jarring. And I remember reading Pema Chodron's book, When Things Fall Apart. Have you ever read that one?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
No,
that is
I would have to look at that.
when
When
things
things
fall
fall apart.
apart. I have it. We're moving. I'm gonna mail it to you. I'm trying to get rid of my
Okay,
stuff anyway.
yay!
And it just like
Received.
there's like it's a great book because you there's so much death that has to happen inside in order to be open
Yeah,
because oh, I'm frozen. I hope that's whatever. This is going on podcast anyway. Um like so much of who you thought you were has to go. And then
yeah,
you lose that and you're like, wow, I can't believe I ever thought that was me. And then
yeah.
the next layer happens. And it's like, oh, wait, but no, but I don't want to let go of this.
I really
And
like this one.
I really like, and at the end of your life, it's your body. It's
Yeah,
your body, and that's not you either. And your
yeah,
mind is
yeah,
not you either. And we don't get to keep any of it,
yeah. And like
except
they
the
talk
thing
about
that's
in the,
always been us.
yeah, the real essence of who we are, the real us. And there's a thing, I don't know if you've seen like the scale of consciousness in, oh, I'm gonna have to send you an image of this. But basically I'm gonna pull it up here so I can like, well, I can't show you all, but I can walk you through it. At the very bottom is shame, and they number it at 20. And
Oh
now
yeah,
it
I've
goes up
seen
to a
this.
thousand. Yeah, so there's this, you move from shame to guilt, apathy, grief. So actually anger is a higher frequency than desire and fear, which is interesting. So, but so when people are like, oh, that's low vibrational, okay, but like it's purging the things that will free up your awareness of things like love and peace and all this. But when you get to a neutral point, it shifts from contracted to expanded,
Mm.
and your consciousness begins to expand, and that is at 200. That's courage. Well, courage, and then above that is neutrality. But here's what's really interesting is that as we move up to um, operating as your default from a place of acceptance, you feel at peace. It's not the stage of peace, like real peace, but because that's actually enlightenment, 600. But you feel at ease. You're not resisting whatever is. And it's like if more collectively we can get into that space, like, oh, imagine what the world would look like, but then we move into reason and then love, and above love is joy before enlightenment, as we like actual term enlightenment. What's interesting about this that Ryan and I talk about a lot is that we can live in this frequency of love and see the love in everything and recognize that you are love and there's nothing that is not love. There's only illusions. There's only the fear, which is the shadows. But then you get to this place of joy and like ecstasy and like just and you have to be willing to let go of that to actually get to peace.
Yeah, the
And
irony.
so we're not there yet. It's like I don't know what's gonna happen to me. But just feeling that, um, seeing that even just in theory, like gotta be willing to let go of everything that we love the most and enjoy, and the version of us that we're like, but this is the one, in service to love, because
Yeah.
there's something greater. There's still something greater.
Yeah. Mm.
And when it's time, you'll be initiated. You don't ever have to go chasing for it.
Yeah, I know. That's the beauty and the pain. A beautiful
Yeah.
pain. Nothing to fix. There's nothing to fix.
Yeah.
Well, Luci, thank you so much for sharing so much wisdom with us, and for also vulnerably sharing. I felt myself tearing up a little bit just a couple times today and listening to you. So maybe
Yeah.
those of you listening are feeling it too. It's just like this humanness and this soul connection that we have. You're such a sister to me.
Yeah. I know I was
Mm.
telling Ryan, I was like, I'm hugging my sister. I don't know when I'll see her again.
Yeah,
You know?
I know, but we'll be back and we have this connection too. So,
Yeah.
where can we find you?
Oh, so at lucilampe.com, LuciLampe.com, all of the current stuff will be on the homepage. And the newest course, which is launching, well, right now, at the time of this recording, it's next week on Valentine's Day. And that course is Revolutionary Eros. And that one is all we're going into the art of erotic embodiment,
Mm.
returning to Eros within ourselves and within our partnerships. So this is it's a course for couples. But it's unlike the other courses that I've had. Again, there's different courses for different stages. So anyone can go in there, take a peek around, see what speaks to you. Um, Women may want to start with the self pleasure course, the one that you took, Natalie, and then couples start with come together and explore more of the emotional connection and gather some more of those tools that'll help them throughout the journey. And then when they're ready for this really deep, juicy union, eros permeating all of life, that kind of stuff, then Revolutionary Arrows is going to be the ideal option of those
Amazing.
offerings.
Yeah. Everybody should go take these courses. I've taken multiple of Luci's courses and I have happily paid for them, although I am also, full disclosure, an affiliate. So I highly endorse these. I will be putting these links to, excuse me, Luci's
Yes.
courses in the show notes. So if any of you are like, oh, I'm in stage 1, I need help with this. Stage 2, I need help with this. Luci is such a trailblazer. Like there are things that you articulate in a way that I've never heard anybody articulate before, Luci. And it's just, I have had multiple clients come to me and say, thank you for connecting me with Luci's stuff. And
Oh,
if I think, if I'm perceiving things correctly, I might even have a past client of mine that has worked with you. We can maybe check it out.
yes. There are lots of people that come. They're like, oh, I heard about this through Natalie, and
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
or just the connection was made because of something
Yeah.
that you've shared an experience about.
And they always come back to me and say, thank you for connecting me with Luci. So this is, Luci is the real deal, you guys. So I'll put her courses in the show notes. I believe they're also, I just want to say, in the coaching world, there are so many like price ranges, and I think everybody should be able to charge
Yeah,
whatever they want. But I just want to say your programs are so accessible to people. And I just
yeah,
really, I think that's
that's what I wanted.
amazing. Yeah. And I'm kind of moving in that direction as well. Like I obviously want higher priced options as well, but I want to move to
Yeah,
having more accessible stuff. So for those of you that like really need help, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck in Luci's programs. I would say that even if I wasn't an affiliate, because I know it in my bones, Luci's the real deal. So I'll put
oh,
her,
thank you.
and also for selfish reasons, my ego is just quietly being like, like I do get paid when you guys full disclosure. I'm just like
I'm also
pretending
like
like
to be generous with
I
the
also
affiliate fees. Yeah,
I also really like getting paid. So two
yeah,
things are true.
we love being paid also.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
this, there's two things are true. It's I highly endorse these. And yeah, there's an affiliate thing that I
yeah.
get as well. So
So
I
make
do
sure
get
y'all
paid.
go to that link. Make sure y'all go
Use
to
my link.
link in the show notes.
You're not
If
allowed
they
to use
wanted to,
anybody else. It's just kidding.
don't go to anybody else's link. But if they were to want something else like coaching or set up a discovery call, things like that, that
Yeah.
will be on the homepage, and it will be easy to find there.
Yes. And
Yeah,
I have done one-on-one coaching with Luci myself, and it
yeah,
is like you know what I paid for? I paid for the session, but you know what I really paid for was like the stuff I didn't expect to happen after the session. That is what I paid for.
Yeah.
Because
The
like during the
magic
call
happens
out,
after.
yeah, no, like I don't know what wizardry you injected into these Zoom calls, because we would have a conversation and I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. That's helpful. But like
You get it in your brain.
my mind wouldn't be like exploding during session, but then like
Yeah.
the micro shift that would happen from the call was so potent that
Yeah.
I would bring it to my relationship, and then we'd have a little rock slide. I'd be like, Lucy,
Fuck you, Lucy.
it worked a little too well. What do I do? And she's like,
And
it's
you
okay, it's
recalibrate.
normal. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and those rock slides need to happen because there's an illusion of stability
Yes.
that often needs to come crumbling down in order to create the real stability. So
Yeah.
if that isn't a personal testimonial, I don't know what is. So make sure you guys check out Lucy's page, take a look at her courses, and yeah. So thanks so much for being on here today. It's a total
Thank
honor.
you so much for I'm just I feel so like what you said last night, just I feel so nourished and
Yeah,
that feeling just has not gone away and I really cherish our sisterhood.
yeah,
Like that, yeah.
I do too. And it's real. I just as a like a last thought, it feels really cool to be in connection with other people that get it, that really get it. Because like I said,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of people that get to stages 4 and 5. And so a lot of people who are kind of in stage 1, I understand where they're coming from. And I don't even judge them when
Yeah.
they judge us, because I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I
Yeah.
get it. I get why
Like I so
I
understand.
so understand why you would judge us. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's very hard to find people that are like, yeah, we've been together for 15 years. I get it. And like, be like,
Yeah.
okay, let's like, and there's, I don't know, last night when we were on the fire, there was like this definitely like group healing that
Yes.
I wasn't able to access with just Preston and I, but just seeing
Yeah.
like you and Ryan healing and Preston and I healing, and then healing as a group of 4, there was something
Yeah.
there. I felt like
Yeah.
we were all kind of carrying it
Yeah.
and seeing
Yeah,
each other.
it was
It was really
a
beautiful.
combined shared presence there, which is what we experience at the retreats when we do those. There's something really profound when couples come together like that and with open hearts. I mean, there's just
Nothing like it.
it's so sacred. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, I see you. Thank you for being on here
Yeah.
today.
Thank you so much.
All
I
right,
love
everybody.
you.
I love you too. All right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and I will see you in the next.